My first cancellation, I think, was the Thursday before they shut us down.
You know, kind of left her here all by herself, all dusty.
You know, it's just been a regular spot. Doesn't matter where I've been in the world, I've always come back to that place I call home, Bitter End.
If you're a musician living in the city, this stage is hallowed ground.
And today I have the special privilege of talking to Paul Rizzo, who is the owner of The Bitter End. Could I ask how you got involved with The Bitter End and how you eventually took ownership of such a legendary, iconic venue?
When I first started at the club, there were two owners. It was Pat Kenny and Paul Colby. And I used to work for Pat Kenny at Kenny's Castaways. And Pat brought me into the office to work. And there was a point when Paul Colby walked into the office and he asked Kenny Gorka and myself if we wanted to get involved and take over that aspect of the club. And we did. I was doing the business aspect and Kenny was booking. And then Paul Colby passed away. And then Kenny passed away, so I ended up being the sole owner of The Bitter End. When we first started back in the 60s, we were one of the few places that did comedy. We were one of the few places that did live music. It was more of a setup where a performer would come in for a week and play 2 shows a night, and tickets would be sold and stuff like that.
It's started so many careers for so many musicians. It would just be tragic to see that dynasty come to an end.
The Bitter End really helped launch careers, and that's such an important aspect of the experience of playing at The Bitter End. Did that just happen organically because you were booking bands that sounded good even though they may not have established themselves yet?
Kenny was the one who created that whole atmosphere. I really do give Kenny the credit for having that aspect be an important part of the club.
It's just an amazing hub for some of the, best, brightest, and most creative musicians. I mean, I saw Lady Gaga there when she was just starting out.
She's just, this little girl running around in her little tank top and her little boy shorts. And she was Stephanie. And then she was Lady Gaga. And all of a sudden she was like crazy famous.
As long as your music is good, it doesn't have to be, famous or on the radio. They want to give a home to all range of artists, And I think by giving what I was building, which didn't have a name at first, but now was a Leave Lasting Art concert series, by giving us the chance to grow and figure out what we were, it was another example of them creating community and nurturing the music community. I think back to that first night I asked Kenny if I could have an evening, and I said, "Hey, Kenny, I'd really love to do a fundraiser for my marathon run. Can I have a night?" And he said, "Are you going to bring people?" I said, "Yeah, of course." He said, "Is it going to be good?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, when do you want?"
They didn't seem to exclude any particular genre. So you would hear folk rock one night, funk another night, hard blues another night, a more metal influenced band another night. A lot of my songs were originally written there on cocktail napkins at the bar or in the little backstage area because of the inspiration I felt there. As an artist, as a songwriter, this is where we paint, this is where we create, this is where our soul lives and sings out.
Do you remember how 2020 started and how things rapidly changed before we had to all officially close down all live music?
My first cancellation, I think, was the Thursday before they shut us down. I had a high school girl call, a girl who went to LaGuardia High School, and she told me that she had to cancel her gig because she lived with her grandmother, and she didn't want to risk them getting sick. They shut us down on the 16th, and it's been that way ever since.
I know you recently started a GoFundMe campaign to help save the bitter end. I think there are things that people don't really realize. For example, what kind of overheads, what kind of expenses are still ongoing during this time, even though you're not able to have any income from the business.
One of the reasons I started the GoFundMe page is because it's not really only the startup, it's the continuation. The projections we have us not being able to really stay open that long, even if we open, because we're of limited capacity, because I have to have them 6 feet apart.
We're raising funds for the Bitter Ends GoFundMe campaign.
Were you surprised when Roomful of Sky and the host Phil Robinson reached out and said that he wanted to organize a live stream to help with the GoFundMe campaign?
We're nothing without musicians. The people on stage are really the center of what's going on. And for them to reach out and help is a great thing.
So when it comes down to do what you gotta, when it comes down to do what you gotta, when it comes down to do what you gotta do. Oh no, not I will survive, just as long as I know how to love. I know I'll stay alive. I got all my life to live. I got all this love to give. I will survive. I will survive. Oh hey, hey.
For people who go to live performances, nothing replaces a live performance. There's nothing that can.
You know, there's nothing like a packed house. There's nothing like a cheering crowd at the finale.
I don't know how long it's going to take to get back. It's something that we're going to have to see unfold in front of us.
I kind of want to cry right now. So it was like, it's my home. I missed it. It's sad.
It's very emotional.
We'll survive this. We'll come back, and live music will come back. It might be a little different, and with everybody's help, the Bitter End will still be here, and we'll probably do another gig there in 2021.
We'll see you. We'll be here.
Yeah.
When we open the doors, we'll
Yeah.
be here.
Bitter End is a family.
Yeah.
As far as musicians, employees, it's family.
I would like to say, Paul, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. I love my whole Bitter End family. Miss you guys terribly.
I love my staff and the people that we've been working with for years, and you know, it's like a family.
And a couple walks in the bar, and I look at the guy, and I'm like, is he a regular customer? What does he drink? Oh my God, I know this guy. So I'm looking at him, and I'm like, do I know you? And it was the drummer for the Foo Fighters. I was like, and I looked at him like, okay, I know who you are. And I walked off, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And I came back, I'm like, what do you want to drink? Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, only because the Foo Fighters is my favorite band ever. So yeah, it was great.